Hi guys, I'm Vernon Kid here, back again, back on my Real Talk channel. How's everybody doing out there? But it's not a real talk subject. Like I said, there are some real talk subjects, and then there's just stuff to have fun, and you guys to get to know me better. In a sense, I guess you guys know me pretty well now. But anyway, welcome back to movies I like slash recommend, and I've only done one in this series, so bad, Chris. Um, but these are movies that I like, and and then I do recommend if you've never seen them before, because sometimes there are movies, guys, out there that a lot of people have not seen. And we may look at it like, really, you haven't seen that, but to each its own. I've got a couple of friends that have never seen certain movies that I've seen, but I wanted to talk about a movie, so I went in my collection and I pulled out a movie that I wanted to talk about, and it's a classic. It's a cult classic. Um, came out year. It came out. Let's see, 3 years or 2 years before I was born, actually. Uh, so it's a 1979, 1979 thriller, and I'm gonna show it to you guys. Um, it's none other than The Warriors. Yes, The Warriors. This movie right here is a cult classic, and I would literally die of hunger if I saw Hollywood try to remake this. When I first saw this movie, my father actually introduced me to this movie. I was at least 13, I think, when I saw this movie, and I loved it from the start. I thought it was cool, and the older I got about it, the older I got, the more it became one of my favorite movies of all time. Uh, the movie actually is based off of a novel too of the same name. The novelist is known as it's on the back too. Sol Uric. I never read the novel, so I wouldn't know. But it came out in 1965. I do know that. The director of the movie is called Walter Hill, and this movie right here, guys, is kind of what my dad would tell me about growing up in New York City. Um, Various different kind of gangs and things like that. Because that's pretty much what this is about. It's gangs. Some of the roughest, toughest gangs in New York City at that time. Uh, and in the movie focuses on the group, the gang from Coney Island, the Warriors. Now, you should probably already know the plot and synopsis of the movie, but if not, I'll give a little detail about it as well. Um, One of the leaders of the biggest gangs in New York, the man known as Cyrus, uh, creates a summit. And if you are from the New York area, then you're going to hear me basically like me. You'll probably know some of these areas. But the man known as Cyrus, he's the leader of the what was his group called? The Gramansky Riffs, Gramsci Riffs. That's what they were called. Yeah, and there was going to be this. He was calling this big summit for all the gangs in New York, and it was going to be at the at at Van Cortlandt Park. That's in the Bronx. For all those who don't know, uh, and the Warriors were one of them. They were, and so they're coming from downtown Manhattan all the way uptown. So they're coming from Coney Island all the way uptown to the Bronx, and it's there that things looks like everything is going well. It's just like all the gangs, no violence, no nothing. It's like a summit, and you got Cyrus up there just you know quoting himself and talking about if we come together as and and of course he's saying his can you dig it, that like that, and everybody's loving it. But of course you would think most all the gangs would come together. Unfortunately, let's just say um, not every gang is pretty much uh, really on this okay brotherhood, and we see that Cyrus gets killed, the leader Cyrus gets killed, and pretty much the gang members who did it blame the warriors. So basically, you can guess where the plot goes from there. Basically, now it's a race against time for the warriors to survive, not just to survive, but to get back to their turf. So they're kind of on equal terms in a sense. Like, no, like in this movie, the gangs are like, okay, this is their turf, so we're not going to really cross that line in a sense, okay? But they killed the leader of the biggest gang, and now it's up to them to run and also solve the mystery of who did it. And we get to see this movie from that perspective of the warriors. It's like, okay, some are scared, some are they want to fight. Some the new leader, the new leader played by Michael Beck, Swan, he's like, okay, we got to get back home. And then you got other members like Ajax played by James Remar, really always like, man, come on, let's just not, let's just fight, and we'll gain respect and things like that. And it's that race against time, guys, that they have to solve the case, but also find who did it and clear their names, because if not, the rest of the other gangs, they're just coming after them. I'm talking about every gang you can think of. It was like word out. All the big gangs, if you see the warriors, bring them or take them out, do what you got to do. And of course, there are some low level gangs that didn't get invited, so they're like really out of the loop. They don't know what's going on. Um, but gangs like the Baseball Fury, Baseball Furies, I'm talking about, like the Baseball Furies with this gang that dress up like baseball players, and they got painted faces like the Crow or Sting or somebody like that. And there's a great scene in the movie where the gang is running from them, and then they finally stop running. It's like, okay, enough of this. Um, the the action scenes in this movie was really well done in my opinion, because I appreciate it the most because it was how the warriors were able to overcome a lot of the gangs. Like they either caught them in a close quarter situation where it was to the Warriors' advantage. And of course, they still got to run away from the police because the police are still chasing them as well. But it was also the aspect of the Warriors just divided and conquering these gangs. I'm forgetting the overall gang that they caught in the subway bathroom, which was really good. I love that fight scene. Um, but some of the Warriors, some of the Warriors did not make it all the way back. There were a few that died. Um, I believe it was two of them that died. Uh, but of course, when they finally do get back home, that's the famous scene of where we have, with the bottles and the cling cling warriors come out and play things like that, and we get to see that scene. And that scene, of course, and one of my favorite scenes that I did like when they finally got back home is Swan, who took over leadership of them after their original leader died. He basically says, this is what we came back to. Basically he's contemplating like, was it worth all this getting back home, and looking around his environment, and it's like almost in a sense like, it's really like almost like really, you know, it was really that worth that much to get back to. And you know and then he also contemplates maybe I should leave, but he doesn't. The other good line that I love is where both of the gangs confront each other, the final almost the final scene, and pretty much Swan once again says, when we see the ocean, we're on our home, we're on our turf, we know where we're at. So it's almost like a comfort zone for them, and you know it was a really good scene right there, of course, and then we all know what happened from there. But the movie really, you could see why this movie has such a cult following, and it's so much that they did a video game about it. They've done comics. Dynamite Comics had the license for a while, and they did I believe some stories of some one-shot stories of different members of the Warriors. um, there was there was also talks about Dynamite even did supposedly, I believe, a sequel as well to the movie, like what happened after the movie went off. What did the Warriors do afterwards? Uh, but you can see why it's such a cult following, and I love the comic book feel to it as well. Like they would show like meanwhile here and things like that. It just really was so good, and it's because of this that many of the actors that were in this movie thank this movie for their popularity now, or in terms of their careers. James Remar, on this DVD alone, James Remar actually talks about, he thanks the Warriors for his career. Um, and even though there were a few actors in this movie that passed away, for example, the youngest member of the Warriors, he passed away, I believe, in the late early '80s. I'm not sure, but a lot of them do thank this movie, and I definitely love this movie. It's one of my favorites. Um, it's a movie that I definitely recommend, guys. It's a movie that I definitely tell people all the time. Please put this in your collection. You won't be disappointed. You can't beat the classics, and sometimes that's where it is. That's what it's all about. It's the classics that are so good that when they try to remake them, it just doesn't live up. And if Hollywood tries to do the, remake this movie, it will be a complete failure because it won't top this. But other than that, guys, that is all. Um, if you know about the Warriors, then just tell me some of your favorite scenes and your favorite parts. Who was your favorite Warrior member? Your favorite, all that. Just give me your input. Um, but other than that, guys, this is Mount Vernon Kid coming to you once again. Movies I like / recommend. And you guys take care. And I'll see you next time. All right. Peace.